The film opens with a strange, surreal sight, a herd of cattle running frantically through a field in Kentucky. Suddenly, they are engulfed in flames. This isn't a natural fire, it's a calculated attack. We see a silver flying saucer hovering above. The movie immediately sets a tone that is both horrific and absurd. It tells the audience right away, the aliens are here and they aren't friendly. We move to Washington, D.C., where we meet President James Dale, played by Jack Nicholson. His advisors inform him that thousands of Martian spaceships are heading toward Earth. The conflict. There is an immediate divide in the war room. Professor Donald Kessler, Pierce Brosnan, he's the optimistic scientist who believes that because the Martians are technologically advanced, they must be peaceful and enlightened. General Decker, Rod Steiger, he represents the shoot-first mentality, convinced the Martians are hostile and should be nuked immediately. Influenced by the optimistic scientist and his own desire for a historic legacy, the president decides to greet the Martians with open arms. The script then jumps between different groups of people across the U.S. to show how the world is reacting. Las Vegas. We meet Art Land, also Jack Nicholson, a sleazy real estate developer looking to profit off the Martian craze, and his alcoholic spiritualist wife, Barbara, Annette Bening, who thinks the aliens are a cosmic blessing. The trailer park. We meet Richie Norris, Lucas Haas, a kind-hearted boy living in a Kansas trailer park with his family and his senile grandmother. While his family is obsessed with the news, Richie just wants to live a quiet life. The newsroom. We meet Jason Stone, Michael J. Fox, and Nathalie Lake, Sarah Jessica Parker, two ambitious news anchors trying to get the biggest scoop on the invasion. The military manages to intercept a Martian broadcast. The visuals show a Martian leader, a bug-eyed creature with a giant exposed brain, making a series of strange, high-pitched ack-ack sounds. The president's team uses a high-tech translation machine. The machine translates the Martians' aggressive barking into a calm English sentence. We come in peace. This sets up the ultimate irony of the film. The Martians say one thing, but do the exact opposite. The president officially announces that the Martians will be landing in Pahrump, Nevada. The choice of location is inherently funny. It's a dusty, isolated desert spot. Across the country, the Martians have become celebrities. We see merchandise being sold and people throwing welcome parties. The casino subplot. In Las Vegas, Art Land is shown trying to build a Galaxy Hotel to capitalize on the aliens. Meanwhile, we meet Byron Williams, played by Jim Brown, a former heavyweight boxing champion, now working as a casino greeter. He's trying to get home to Washington, D.C. to be with his family, adding a grounded human element to the chaotic comedy. While the world looks toward Nevada, a secondary plot begins in D.C. We see a mysterious, beautiful woman with a massive blonde beehive hairdo and a skin-tight patterned dress. She has a very strange gliding walk and never speaks. This is the Martian spy in disguise. She is picked up by a sleazy White House press secretary, Jerry Ross, Martin Short, who thinks he's going on a date. He sneaks her into the White House, completely oblivious to the fact that she's an alien in a rubber mask. This scene shows that while the government is worried about a formal landing in the desert, they are completely vulnerable to a simple Trojan horse infiltration at home. The scene shifts to the desert of Nevada. It looks like a circus. There are bleachers filled with hippies, celebrities, and military personnel. General Casey, the nice general, is sent to greet them. He's dressed in full formal uniform, looking nervous but optimistic. A massive silver saucer descends from the sky, kicking up a giant cloud of dust. The ramp lowers, and out walk three Martians. They are small, wearing green spacesuits, and holding strange-looking ray guns. This is one of the most famous scenes in sci-fi history. A hippie in the crowd releases a white dove as a symbol of peace. The Martians watch the bird fly. To them, it looks like a threat, or simply something to kill. They instantly disintegrate the bird with a green laser. Before the humans can even process what happened, the Martians open fire on the crowd. The ray guns don't just kill people. They turn them into red and green skeletons. The irony, as they are vaporizing the military and the civilians, the translation machine is still blasting the message, "Don't run, we are your friends." Back in the Oval Office, the mood is frantic. The president and his advisors are watching the footage of General Casey being disintegrated. General Decker the Hawk is screaming, "I told you so." He wants to launch a full nuclear strike. However, Professor Kessler, the scientist, is still in deep denial. He argues that the massacre was a cultural misunderstanding. Kessler suggests that perhaps in Martian culture, a dove is a sign of war. The president, desperate to avoid a global panic, chooses to believe the scientist. He decides to treat the massacre as an isolated incident and invites the Martians to speak before Congress. This highlights a major theme of the movie. The leaders are more afraid of being wrong than they are of the. While the president is planning a diplomatic meeting, the Martian girl, the spy in the blonde wig, is still inside the White House with Jerry Ross, the press secretary. Jerry takes her into a private room, trying to be romantic. The woman doesn't speak. She just chews a piece of massive blue bubble gum and moves with a strange rhythmic sway. In a darkly hilarious moment, Jerry tries to kiss her, and her finger falls off. Then she removes her mask to reveal the terrifying big-brained Martian head underneath. Before Jerry can scream, she kills him. She then begins to navigate the White House halls, her goal being the president's bedroom. This sequence is shot like a classic horror movie, but with Tim Burton's signature quirky music. We check back in with the average Americans in Kansas. Family tension. Richie Norris's parents are obsessed with the TV, mourning the peaceful aliens while ignoring Richie's brother, played by Jack Black, who is a gung-ho soldier, eager to fight. Grandma's music. We see Grandma Norris in her nursing home. She is wearing headphones, listening to Slim Whitman's Indian Love Call. The foreshadowing. Pay attention to this scene. The movie goes out of its way to show that she loves this specific, high-pitched yodeling music. To the audience, it's just a character quirk, but it's actually the most important setup in the entire film. The Martians apologize via another broadcast, which is clearly just them mocking the humans, and the date is set for them to address the U.S. Congress. The atmosphere. There's a mix of terror and excitement. The movie shows crowds gathering outside the Capitol building. The Martians walk into the halls of Congress. Professor Kessler is beaming with pride, thinking he has saved humanity through diplomacy. The Martians look small and fragile in their capes as they approach the podium. The Martians have arrived at the U.S. Capitol. Professor Kessler introduces them, looking like a proud father. He truly believes this is the greatest moment in human history. The attack. As the lead Martian reaches the podium, he doesn't give a speech. Instead, he pulls out a shrink ray and shrinks Professor Kessler, putting him in a small cage. The Martians then pull out their blasters and begin vaporizing the entire U.S. Congress. It's a bloodbath of red and green skeletons. While the politicians are panicking, the Martians are laughing. This confirms their true nature. They aren't here for resources or land. They are here because they find killing humans funny. While the massacre is happening at Congress, the Martian spy, still in the blonde wig, finally reaches the president's private quarters. She encounters the Secret Service and the First Lady, Marcia Dale, Glenn Close. The spy is incredibly hard to kill. She moves like a robot and shows zero emotion. In a hilarious character beat, the First Lady is more concerned about her antique furniture and her Nancy Reagan-style decor being ruined by the blaster fire than she is about the alien. The Secret Service eventually manages to take down the spy, but not before she creates total chaos inside the White House. The president realizes that nowhere is safe, not even his bedroom. Now that the diplomacy is over, the full Martian fleet enters Earth's atmosphere. This is where we see the global scale of the attack. Tim Burton uses this montage to parody other disaster movies. We see the Martians knocking over the Washington Monument like a game of bowling and defacing Mount Rushmore by carving their own Martian faces into the mountain. The Easter Island joke. They even played giant bowling with the heads on Easter Island. The message is clear. The Martians view Earth's history and monuments as nothing more than toys to be destroyed. During the chaos in London and D.C., the news anchor Natalie Lake, Sarah Jessica Parker, is kidnapped by the Martians along with her chihuahua. This leads to one of the most Tim Burton-esque scenes in the movie. On the Martian spaceship, the Martians perform a bizarre surgical experiment. They swap the heads of Natalie and her dog. You see Natalie's head on the chihuahua's body and vice versa. It's weird, creepy, and perfectly captures the movie's dark, surreal humor. This scene is often what American audiences remember most about the film. After the Congress massacre and the assassination attempt on his life, President James Dale is losing his mind. He is shown in the underground bunker looking disheveled. His optimistic advisor, Professor Kessler, is gone, shrunk and kidnapped, and now he's stuck with General Decker, who is screaming for a nuclear launch. The president gives a speech that is a perfect parody of heroic leaders. Instead of being brave, he's mostly concerned about his polling numbers and how this looks to the public. He still wants to talk it out, showing his complete detachment from reality. We shift the focus to Las Vegas, which becomes a primary target for the Martians. This is where the movie's A-list cast starts to get picked off. Artland's fate. The sleazy real estate developer, Jack Nicholson's second character, thinks he can negotiate a business deal with the aliens to build a casino on Mars. The death. In a classic be careful what you wish for moment, the Martians aren't interested in a partnership. They vaporize him mid-sentence. The heroes emerge. We see Byron Williams, the boxer, and Barbara Land, the spiritualist wife, teaming up. Byron's goal is simple: get to an airfield and fly back to DC to save his kids. This provides the action hero heart that the White House scenes are missing. This is a famous sequence of global vandalism. The Martians treat the Earth like a playground. On the spaceship, we see more of the head-swapped Nathalie Lake. The Martians are treating her, on the dog's body, like a pet. We see the Martians using their flying saucers to tip over the Leaning Tower of Pisa just to take a tourist photo with it. For your script, emphasize that the Martians aren't just killing, they are humiliating humanity. They find our culture and our history to be a joke. Back in the U.S. War Room, the president finally caves to pressure. He authorizes General Decker to fire a nuclear missile at the Martian mothership. The world watches as the missile travels through space. The missile hits the ship, but instead of exploding, the Martians inhale the nuclear explosion through a giant pipe. They use the radiation as if they are taking a hit from a bong or a cigar. The Martians laugh and fire back a small, puny-looking laser that completely destroys the U.S. nuclear facility. This scene proves that Earth's strongest weapons are literally smoke to the Martians. Following the failure of the nuclear strike, the Martians launch a massive ground assault. We see Martians walking through typical American neighborhoods. They are using their ray guns to shrink people, vaporize houses, and even play target practice with lawn ornaments. The soldier arc. Richie's brother, Billy Glenn Norris, who joined the army to be a hero, finally gets his moment. He faces off against a Martian in the middle of a desert road. Billy Glenn tries to use his military training, but his gun jams. The Martian simply disintegrates him, leaving nothing but a pair of smoking boots. This is a classic Tim Burton move. The brave soldier character gets a sudden, unceremonious exit. The Martians finally breach the White House. This is no longer a diplomatic visit. It's an execution squad. The First Lady's exit. While the president is hiding, a Martian saucer crashes into the White House. A chandelier falls, and the First Lady, Marcia Dale, is crushed. It's a fast, darkly comedic death for one of the film's biggest stars. The Secret Service battle. There is a chaotic shootout in the hallways. The Martians are using their superior technology to bounce lasers off walls, making them nearly impossible to hit. General Decker's final stand. The tough-talking General Decker finally loses it. He pulls out 2 tiny pistols and starts screaming at the Martians. The Martian leader uses a shrink ray on him, turns him into a tiny man, and then, in a truly brutal but funny moment, steps on him. While the world is falling apart, we go back to Kansas. The Martians have reached the nursing home where Grandma Norris lives. A Martian enters her room, ready to vaporize her. She is sitting in her chair, completely unaware, listening to her music on full blast. Richie runs into the room to save her. In the struggle, the headphone jack is pulled out. The song, Slim Whitman's Indian Love Call, starts playing out loud through the speakers. The Martian stops in its tracks. Its head begins to vibrate, its eyes bulge even further, and suddenly, its brain explodes in a splash of green goo. Richie and his grandma are stunned. They realize they've accidentally found the Martian's Achilles heel. To make sure it wasn't a fluke, they play the music again while a second Martian enters. The same thing happens. The high-pitched yodeling is literally toxic to the Martian nervous system. Richie realizes they don't need nukes or tanks. They need speakers. He loads Grandma and her record player into his truck and heads toward the local radio station. The Martians have completely taken over the White House. President James Dale is cornered in the underground bunker. The Martian leader and his guards break in, having already killed his staff and family. Instead of fighting, the president gives a long, emotional, and incredibly ironic speech. He talks about how there is plenty of room for all of us, and asks why they can't just settle their differences. For a moment, it looks like the Martian leader is moved to tears. He reaches out to shake the president's hand. As they shake hands, the Martian's hand detaches, crawls up the president's back, and stabs him through the chest. At the same time, a Martian flag pops out of the president's chest. It's the ultimate punchline. The president died trying to negotiate with a species that only lives for the prank. We jump to the neon-lit streets of Vegas. Byron Williams, the boxer, Barbara Land, and the two teenagers are trying to reach a private plane at the airport to escape. Their path is blocked by a squad of Martians. Byron, realizing the group won't make it unless someone creates a distraction, decides to do what he does best. The fist fight. In one of the most cheered moments for American audiences, Byron takes off his shirt and fights the Martians with his bare hands. The heroism. While the others reach the plane, Byron is swarmed by dozens of Martians. He sacrifices himself, or so it seems, so the others can fly to safety. This scene provides the traditional hero moment that the movie had been mocking until now. Back in Kansas, Richie and Grandma Norris reach the local radio station. They need to get the Slim Whitman music on the airwaves immediately. Martians are everywhere, but Richie manages to hook up the record player to the station's main transmitter. The sound. As soon as the needle hits the record, an Indian love call begins to blast through the town's speakers. Martians nearby start clutching their helmets. We see a sequence of Martians in the street literally losing their heads. The high-pitched yodeling causes their giant brains to vibrate until they pop like balloons. Richie realizes this isn't just a local fix. It's the key to winning the war. The word gets out. People start bringing out their own record players, boom boxes, and speakers. The military, what's left of it, stops using guns and starts using massive loudspeaker trucks. We see a montage of different countries, France, Japan, etc., playing the music. The Martian fleet, which was once unstoppable, is now falling out of the sky because the pilots' heads are exploding mid-flight. With the Indian love call blasting from every radio station, tank, and loudspeaker across the globe, the invasion completely collapses. Martian saucers are falling out of the sky and crashing into the ocean. On the ground, Martians are running in circles, trying to cover their ears, but their giant glass helmets act like resonators, making the sound even louder until their brains explode in a mess of green slime. The mothership, even the massive mothership, isn't safe. The frequency penetrates the hull, and we see the Martian leader's brain explode right in the middle of his command chair. The ship loses control and plunges into the water. Amidst the wreckage of the crashed Martian saucer, we get a resolution to one of the weirdest subplots in the movie. Nathalie Lake, with her head on the Chihuahua's body, and her boyfriend Jason Stone, whose head was also experimented on, are found in the debris. The reunion. Despite their bizarre physical states, they find each other. In a typical Burton-esque touch, they don't seem horrified by their condition. They just seem happy to have survived. It's a surreal happy ending that tells the audience that even in a broken world, life goes on, just a bit differently. We return to the airfield in Las Vegas. Everyone assumed Byron Williams, the boxer, died while fighting off the Martians. As his family waits at home, a battered and bruised Byron appears. He didn't just survive. He beat the Martians using nothing but his fists. This reinforces the movie's theme. The high-tech government failed, but the low-tech human spirit and a former heavyweight champion won. This is the most emotional moment for the American audience as Byron reunites with his wife and kids. The film ends where it began, in Washington, D.C., but the city is in ruins. The new heroes. Since the president, vice president, and all of Congress were vaporized, the only authority left is the president's teenage daughter, Taffy Dale, Natalie Portman. The honor, Taffy presents the Medal of Honor to Richie Norris and Grandma Norris on the steps of the damaged Capitol building. The final joke, as a mariachi band plays a celebratory tune, we see a final montage of the world recovering. The very last shot shows a bunch of forest animals coming out of hiding as the Martian saucers lay wrecked in the background. The peace that the humans wanted is finally here, but only because the Martians were literally annoyed to death.